When it comes to leadership, the two most common domains are the leadership of others and the leadership of organizations and society at large. We forget, however, that both of these domains of leadership rest on the foundation of self-leadership, a forgotten domain of leadership that empowers individuals to master the attitudes and behaviors of the self so they are properly positioned and ordered to not only unlock full potential in their own life, but also in the lives of those they touch. I'll even make the case that self-leadership is one of the most impactful tools you could focus on to elevate your quality of life and leadership. In this video, we're going to discuss the three fundamentals of self-leadership so you could take your life and leadership to the next level right now. Self-leadership is paramount to all of us, so whether you're an executive, CEO, a parent, or young professional, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Passion with Purpose Show, where each week I empower you to take your life and leadership to the next level by exploring the intersections of life, leadership, and organizational behavior with applied philosophy, psychology, and theology. I'm your host, Stephen Mezzacappa, an author and the founder and owner of the Passion with Purpose organization, which provides leadership coaching and consulting services. I'm delighted to have you with me today. I appreciate your time, and I hope this content proves edifying to you. To further thank you for being here, I'd like to give you several chapters from my book for free. Just go to passionwithpurpose.org/fulfillment to get access, or click the link below in the description or show notes. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, don't forget to hit follow. And if you're watching right here on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. All right, so let's get into it. Before diving into the three fundamentals of self-leadership, we need to define what self-leadership is. Academic scholars define self-leadership as a process through which individuals exert self-influence over their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. In other words, self-leadership is self-motivation by self-regulation in thoughts, emotions, and decisions. If you have read my book or have followed my content for some time, you might be familiar with my understanding of the human soul as having three core faculties: our intellect, which features our thinking and reasoning; our emotion, which features our feelings and desires or appetites, and no, not the appetite in the sense of food, and finally our third core faculty, the will, which features our decision-making function. Self-leadership is deeper than just emotional intelligence or emotional regulation. It is being aware of what is going on in our soul and managing how or to what extent this influences our outward actions and behaviors. Self-leadership can be tricky because sometimes we act and behave unconsciously, which can lead to impulsive behavior. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we can be overly conscious or self-aware of our thoughts and emotions to the point we are paralyzed by overthinking. Self-leadership is a virtue, and we need to strike the balance between impulsivity and overthinking. Over the last several years, and in my book, Passion with Purpose, The Fire Within, I have developed and presented what I call the Passion with Purpose model. If you have an idea for a cooler name for this, by the way, let me know. But in this model, I discuss how we can regulate our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors within our soul by managing the inputs and outputs of each of these three soul faculties. This model is applicable within many contexts, and especially applicable in self-leadership. But before I further discuss this and present the three fundamentals of self-leadership, I want to further the point as to why self-leadership is so important. Our thoughts and attitudes influence our behaviors. In essence, our thoughts and emotions don't just simply drive our behavior. They inform strategies and plans we may employ in societal and organizational contexts. So if we truly want to be leaders in our families, in our organizations, or in our society, we need to focus on self-leadership. For years now, we have been talking as a society about the crisis of leadership we face in modern times. But no one is actually holding leaders accountable or making strides to popularize or stress the importance of self-leadership. We have positioned ourselves in a society in which profits supersede people. Strategic leadership decisions are based on the market, the bottom line, and what's good for me and my motives. Self-leadership has been cast aside in pursuit of selfish initiatives. Most leadership training focuses on the head and hands of leadership development, and not the heart of leadership development, the heart of leaders. Organizations can have the best products and the best strategy. Yes, this can be fruitful in the short term, but if an organization wants to go from being good to great, it's the heart of the leaders that decides that destiny. This is where self-leadership comes in. And we need to realize that the movement to focus on self-leadership takes time. If we want to create a family, an organization, or a society that embraces the virtue of self-leadership, it starts with me and you. Self-leadership can be challenging or complex because it requires more than knowledge and skills. It requires humility. It requires honesty. It requires a willingness to change and a willingness to be wrong. As much as self-leadership is a knowledge or skill issue, it is a heart issue. This does not mean that you should be discouraged, though. Awareness of self-leadership is the first step. Then slowly increasing your focus and attention to it over time with intentional steps will last to transformational change within. In life, you cannot outwork or outperform a broken heart. What I mean by this is that you can grow in knowledge and develop skills all you want, but there will come a point where your progress will be limited by your mental and emotional maturity level. We all have limitless potential within us. It isn't skills or theories that help us pursue our full potential. It is humble self-leadership that best empowers us to live out our full potential. The foundation of self-leadership is a trifecta of humility, awareness, and discipline. From here, we could build self-leadership by focusing on the three building blocks of self-leadership: inspiration, encouragement, and empowerment. These are, in essence, the three fundamentals of self-leadership, and I'll repeat them: inspiration, encouragement, empowerment. Self-leadership is all about regulating the inputs and outputs of our soul. Let's go back to the passion and purpose model I introduced earlier. Our soul's three faculties include our intellect, emotion, and will. The three fundamentals of self-leadership, inspiration, encouragement, and empowerment, are all directly related with each of these three soul faculties: inspiration for intellect, encouragement for emotion, and empowerment for will. I know this may sound up in the clouds, so let's work on planning our final descent and landing the plane on the tarmac of self-leadership. Inspiration and intellect go hand in hand because within our intellect is where we think, reason, and imagine. Over the course of a day, or even a single hour or minute, our intellect will entertain a lot of thoughts, and I mean a lot of thoughts. Thoughts that range from work responsibilities, chores at home, or just fun little daydreams, and many more. We need to have disciplined thinking so we can stay focused and execute on our priorities and objectives. This is where inspiration comes in, and not the inspiration often gets associated with motivational speaking. Inspiration that builds positivity and provides clarity and clear vision. I talk more about this in my How to Conquer Procrastination video that I'll link down below, or it's episode number 11 if you're looking for the podcast episode. But to summarize, take leadership and ownership of your thoughts by regulating your mind. Whenever you entertain a thought, ask yourself, is this inspiring and relevant? If it's not, don't give that thought the time of day. Ponder, meditate, and indulge in the thoughts that inspire you. Encouragement, our second fundamental of self-leadership, is how we take ownership and leadership of our emotions. Just like our thoughts, we will entertain a lot of emotions and feelings over the course of the day, and especially minute by minute. Emotions get tricky because it's a double-edged sword, with some emotions being triggered by psychological phenomenons and hormones, and other emotions being triggered by environmental stimuli. In this case and in this video, I want to focus on emotions triggered by environmental conditions. This can be people we surround ourselves with, or other external inputs like social media, books, or everyday observations. The outside and external world will evoke feelings within us, feelings ranging from happy to sad, and feelings ranging from excluded to included. Emotions are our soul's way of signaling to us what's going on. In its very basic nature, it is a survivalist instinct. But emotions are a little more complex because emotions aren't just for survival, but for pleasure as well. Another way of looking at emotions is that some are based in reality while others are based in insecurity. Society is on a kick right now to validate your emotions. Well, I want to challenge you to question and challenge your emotions. And let me be clear, I'm not saying to go stoic on emotions. There's a whole other conversation for another day. But what I am simply saying is that we shouldn't act out or behave based on every feeling or emotion we have. We need to have emotional awareness and the discipline to discern which emotions are rooted in truth and which emotions are rooted in insecurity. The mechanism by which we can discern our emotions is through encouragement. When you're experiencing a feeling, ask yourself, is this feeling encouraging to me and is it relevant? This is a very important question, and there are two questions within it that both need to be addressed. For something to truly be encouraging, it needs to be relevant, because if something is encouraging, it produces edification. For example, don't be misled when I say to entertain the feelings that are encouraging only in the positive sense. This clarification is important because if it is misunderstood, It can be interpreted as that one should neglect feelings of sadness. The method I am proposing is that you take this feeling of sadness and test it by asking, why am I sad? Search out the answer and seek out the truth. If the sadness you're experiencing is due to relevant and real causes, there are natural, normal responses that should follow. There's a lot we could get into here when it comes to addressing, reconciling, and healing emotions, and how unregulated emotions can cause chaos in our lives. But I need to save that discussion for another episode. But back to this case. My point is to take inventory of your emotions. Focus on the encouraging and relevant feelings that produce edification, and act and behave from a place of emotional discipline and self-control. Your emotions are powerful motives to bring about action and behavior. Take the ownership of your feelings and act from a place of grounded emotion. The final fundamental of self-leadership is empowerment. This has to do with the sole faculty of will. The will is the last gate an attitude enters before it is acted out. This is where discretion lies, and most importantly, our free will. Empowerment is all about setting intentional tools and rules in place to help you bring about the action that you want to bring about. In self-leadership, casting a vision and feeling good about it can be easy when you compare it to actually walking it out. For example, let's say I want to lead myself towards physical fitness and I want to start running at 6 a.m. every single day. If I just wing it without an intentional plan, I'm setting myself up for failure. But if I prepare and set rules and have tools for myself, rules like staying accountable to an early bedtime and tools like proper running shoes, I am that closer to achieving the desired action or habit. In self-leadership, empowerment is key in walking out our desired objectives. These three fundamentals of self-leadership, inspiration, encouragement, and empowerment, are all interconnected because they are all associated with the depths of the human soul. We should approach self-leadership by taking ownership of each individual soul faculty, as well as taking ownership of the soul as a system. There will come times in your self-leadership journey where you may be weak in intellect and emotion, but strong in will. In this instance, lean into your will to re-regulate your intellect and emotion. If you're wondering if there is a rightly ordered hierarchy of the soul faculties, I would say yeah. And that is your intellect informing your emotion, and then your intellect and emotion together guiding your will forward. In self-leadership, we get into trouble when our soul is deregulated, and it is our emotions informing our intellect, which then brings about unwanted habits and actions. There's a lot more to this, so maybe I'll do a part 2 on this for this episode on this topic. But I want to leave you with this. Self-leadership is about how we steward our intellect, emotion, and will, or more commonly, our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, to pursue objectives that are relevant to our mission and vision for life. Self-leadership is not only paramount in living out your full potential. Self-leadership is the bedrock of organizational and societal leadership. Be a light and set an example by your self-leadership. Remember, lead your intellect with inspiration, lead your emotion with encouragement, and lead your will with empowerment. Ground your passions in truth and enjoy the journey of purpose before you. If you have any questions on this topic, I would love to hear from you and connect with you. You can follow me on social media at SFMez or at the PWP.org, and you can email me directly at steven@passionwithpurpose.org. God bless you, my friend.